Hey, Lily.
Hey, Miss Sparks.
How are you, sweetheart?
Good. How are you?
Good. I was just writing a thank you note to all of you all for the mug.
I'm glad you like it.
I know I love it. It's great. And eating my peanut butter balls. I
Hey,
have
that's good.
I know I can only have one of those a day.
They're very sweet.
Yeah, and I'm like I'm trying to, like spread out my sweets over the holiday so that I'm not eating all sweets every day. They're yummy though. I'm trying. Did I post that doc that you and I made on the
Yes,
Google Classroom?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. I need to repost it though because I corrected that one. Because didn't we decide number 42 was C and not D? Is that the one?
Looking. I don't know. I put D, so
I need to take a look at it because I don't know. I think it is C if I'm not mistaken, but I need to.
that looks right.
Does it look right? C?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I changed it, so I feel like I need to repost it.
Mm-hmm.
So, because it's just an X and Y intercept on that one.
Yes.
And it's both are positive 5, right? The X intercept is 5 and the Y intercept is 5
The no, the X is -5 and the Y is -2.
on 42.
Yes.
Oh, maybe I need to look at it. What page was that?
I don't know. There's not numbers on here.
Um, 42. Trying to see if I can find them. Let me see if I. Ugh, I don't think I have. I don't. I don't think I have those.
Hmm.
Did you have a particular question today?
I just knew I struggled on some of it, and I was trying to see where I missed a bunch of them.
Okay. While I'm looking for that, you let me know which ones. Oh, I have a different one for 40. Oh, no, that's 40. Never mind. Unfortunately, I don't think I have that one.
Hmm.
Elise had to send me copies of hers,
Uh-huh.
and she skipped a couple pages. So, which ones? Was it more toward the back, like the perpendicular lines and stuff like that?
I struggled like with standard form. I still don't understand that.
Okay. Switching to standard form.
It just says write the standard form of the equation of each line and the slope and y-intercept. So
What number?
47 and 48.
Okay. Hold on, let me. The ones that the reason why I feel like these were maybe a little different on these is because you have to go one step further than we did on the test.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to work those out. Let me write that down and then move over. slope, negative 1/4, and y-intercept, -2. Okay. This is a different open. Okay. All right. The very first thing that you would do, okay, you see that the slope, and I'm just going to write an M for slope. Will that make sense to you if I do that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's negative 1/4, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then the y-intercept, I'm going to write as B, and that's a -2, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the very first thing I'm going to do is put it in slope intercept form. That part I feel like you're comfortable with, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the slope intercept form. I'm just rewriting it so it'll be in front of you. So you're going to take and just substitute everything you know, which is this negative 1/4 x and then -2, because all I've done is taken the slope and plugged it in where for the M here,
Mm-hmm.
and then the y-intercept and plugged it in for that. So that's all I've done. That's my very first step. Are you comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay. So then my next step is going to be where I'm going to put it in standard form. And now let me just write the standard form. It's AX plus BY equals C. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's the difference between this form and this form? Is that this right here
Mm-hmm.
is on the same side as the Y. That's the only difference. Would you agree? It's like being able to look at it from a format standpoint. That's the only difference.
Yes.
Okay. So I can't just move that over there. I have to, if I'm going to switch sides with a term in algebra, I have to actually move it by doing its inverse operation. The inverse operation of -1/4 is adding 1/4. So I'm going to do that to both sides like that. And then I'm going to get 1/4 x plus y equals -2. Okay. Does that make sense to you so far?
Yes.
Okay. You're good. You're good with that. I don't want to move forward if there's anything you don't understand. So now, technically, Lily, what I want to tell you is that it is in standard format.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't on my test, you wouldn't have to do anything different. But like I've said in class, mathematicians don't like for the leading coefficient when it's in standard form to be either a fraction or a negative number. So they multiply. If you'll remember way back, oh Lord, Lily, I really want to say this is even before we left Thanksgiving break, but I can't remember specifically. But when we first studied standard form, we talked about the very first thing, even before they introduced standard form, really was the fact that you could multiply an equation all the way through by any given number. As long as you multiplied every single term by that same number, you would literally have the same equation, just stated differently. And the reason why they do this is to show you that when you're doing standard form, that sometimes it may not turn out just like this. They may multiply it through in order to rid it of the fact that this is a fraction or a negative number.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to get what's in that, most of the time what they're going to do is, if this is a negative, then they'll multiply it through by a -1. If it's a fraction, they're going to multiply it all the way through by the denominator, because that would clear the fraction. Does that make sense? Or not really?
Confused.
I'm sorry?
I'm still a little bit confused.
Okay, so if I said that I didn't want this to have a fraction in it, which is basically what I'm saying. They don't want this, this coefficient, which they call the leading coefficient because it leads the way. It's in the front. It's at the very beginning of the statement.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't want it to be a fraction or a negative number. So they're going to multiply everything in the equation by something to get rid of it. But they can't just multiply that one. They have to multiply everything. Because if you don't multiply everything, it would change the value.
Mm-hmm.
So if I multiply the x, the y, and the -2 by some number, the same number, then it won't change. So in order to clear the fraction, I'm going to multiply this by 4, because what happens when I multiply 4 over 1 times 1/4? What happens? You get 4 over 4, which is really what?
1.
1. So that would clear that fraction, but I can't do it to just this. I have to do it to this and this and this. Or if I don't, I change the value of the equation.
Okay.
Okay? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to multiply 1/4 x times 4, and that's going to give me x. Then I'm going to multiply this by 4, this by 4, this by 4, and then this by 4. So that's going to give me 4. If I multiply 4 times y, that gives me 4y. And if I multiply 4 times -2, that's going to give me -8. And that should be one of the answers. Is it?
Yes.
Does that make sense or not really?
Yes, it does.
It's better?
Uh-huh.
Okay, good, good. That's great. Love to hear that. So let's try the next one, but you walk me through it. Like, you be the person to tell me what to do, just step by step. Is there anybody else on here, by the way?
I came in. I was just kind of listening.
Okay, who is it?
Ethan.
Hey, Ethan.
Hey.
Welcome. Happy Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm studying for those finals. I also had a question. Is everything that's on the study guides on the does that cover everything that will be on the exam?
Yes, sir. It is absolutely, to be perfectly honest with you, that even though there was 2 different study guides, and I'm glad that you're on, because that'll give Lily and I some additional ones to practice, because yours has different numbers on it than Lily's does, but it's literally the same. It's basically the same questions. And all I've done was to give us lots of practice. The exam I've taken, like y'all have the review, and all I've done was replace the same review with different numbers. That's all I've done. So literally everything that's on the exam, like format and everything, should be exactly how the exam is. So
Okay.
as long as you can get through that. Oh, okay, Lily, number 48. What is the slope?
2.
The slope is 2, so it looks like that. And what is the y-intercept?
-4.
Okay, so now put that in slope-intercept form for me.
Y equals 2x minus 4.
Perfect. Perfect. All right, now, so the only difference between this format and standard format is what?
The 2x.
Right, the 2x needs to be on the same side as the y. So what do I do to get it over there?
Subtract 2x.
From both sides. Good job. So now it should look like this. Right?
Yes.
So technically, if this were just a written test and Miss Sparks was checking it, I would be happy with this answer. But mathematicians don't like the leading coefficient to be a fraction, nor do they want it to be a negative number. So this isn't a fraction, so they'd be okay with that, but it is a negative number. So how can I get rid of a negative number?
By adding.
You could add if you were trying to move it back to the other side. But in order to just get rid of the negative, what could I multiply every single number, every single term, not just number, in this?
By 2.
You could multiply by a 2, but it would have to be a -2 because a -2 times a negative gives me a positive. But I don't think that's one of the possible answers down there. I think it's just the negative. I think if you multiply by -1, you're going to get closer to the answer, aren't you? Okay. So what I would do if it were just a negative is multiply by a -1. So what happens when I multiply a -1 times a -2?
You cancel out and just get a +2.
Right. So what happens when I multiply a -1 times a y?
Be a -y.
So you get a -y. Good job. What happens when I multiply a -1 times a -4?
It'd be a +4.
Yes. So basically, all I've done was just change the signs on all of these. But whatever I multiply by that first term to make it pretty for the mathematicians, I have to make sure I do for every single term throughout the whole equation. Because if you didn't, it would actually change the value of the equation. This way, it does not change the value. It just changes the appearance. And that's what we're looking for, is no negatives and no fractions. So that's really it. Is this one of the possible answers?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Does that help?
Yes, ma'am.
Ethan should have different numbers. Hey, Ethan, read me number 47 on yours.
Okay.
Read me the instructions first, just so I can make sure it's the same.
Okay, number 47
Yes.
is hold on, okay. Write the standard form of the equation of the line given the slope and y-intercept ax plus by minus c. So the slope is -1 and the y-intercept is -0.
Is -0?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's funny.
Oh wait, no, that might just be equal sign.
Okay.
I have it open on the dock, so I can't see it quite clearly.
Okay. Sorry about that. All right. So, Lily, we're just going to do another one to give more practice because I think it's 47 and 48. His should be different than yours, but y'all can kind of tell that the format overall is basically the same. So this is kind of how the exam is going to be. You see, Lily, you had something for 47 and Ethan had something for 47. It was different numbers, but it's the same exact question. So that's exactly how the final will be. Same exact question, just different numbers. So this gives us 4 examples to work with. So this is Ethan. So it's the same principle, Lily, but now we have another example. So it'll, hopefully make sense. Okay, Ethan, do you want to put this one in slope intercept form for me?
Okay, y equals -1, b plus 0.
Well, negative 1x. It'll be negative 1x
Oh, yeah, negative 1x. Sorry.
plus 0.
I'm still
And
tired.
that's okay. I wouldn't necessarily have to write the 0, but just for the principle of it, knowing that the B could be anything on the exam tomorrow, I'm going to write it. Okay, guys? So
Okay.
what is the difference between the slope intercept form and the standard form? What would I have to do?
You'd have to add 1x to the other side, and then
Yes.
it would be in standard form. And you could just put x because it's 1x.
That's right. So I instead of adding the 1 this time, I'm just going to go x plus y equals 0. And I literally don't have to do anything to this one because what is the leading coefficient of fraction? No, and it's not a negative number. So literally that there should be an answer there with that on there. Is there, Ethan?
Uh, oh, I'm sorry. What was the
Is there
question?
x plus y equals 0 on yours somewhere as an answer?
No, it's x minus y, but that's just because I said negative 1. Well, it was actually 1, so yeah, that's the right answer.
Oh, you said negative 1?
Yeah, I said negative 1, but it's actually 1.
Oh, okay.
So
basically it was a regular 1. So this would have been like this. So this is what you're saying. So we would have changed this to a negative, and that would have ended up like that. So Lily, in order to get rid of that negative x, what would I have to do to the whole equation?
Multiply
By a negative
1.
Yes. So that would change this to a positive. And then if I multiply negative 1 times this y, that's going to be a negative. And negative 1 times 0 is just 0, so it doesn't change that. Okay? Is this making more sense now, Lily?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Hey, Ethan, tell me number 48. What are the numbers for it?
see, number 48 is slope is negative 2 over 5, and y-intercept is 2.
Slope is negative 2 over 5, and the y-intercept is 2?
2.
Okay. All right. So, Lily,
Yes,
what's
ma'am.
slope-intercept form on this one?
Y equals negative 2/5 x plus 2.
Okay. All right. So what would I have to do to change this to get it into standard form?
Add 2/5 to each side.
Good job. My handwriting's a little sketchy. So that gives me 2/5 x plus y equals 2. All right. Now this one does have a fraction in the front. So I want to multiply everything by the denominator to clear the fraction.
Uh-huh.
Okay? So if I'm going to do that on this, this is what it would look like. 2/5 times 5, because 5 is the denominator, right?
Uh-huh.
So that's going to give me 10 over 5, or I could simplify before I multiply, would be easier. So that gives me 2 over 1. So basically, since I'm multiplying, you kind of know that the numerator is going to be your answer if you're multiplying by the denominator. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So I multiply the whole thing by 5. And so here that leaves me with 2x. And then if I multiply a 5 times y, what do I have? 5y. And then I'm multiplying 5 by 2. What do I have?
10.
Yeah. Did this one, was that one more confusing because of the weird fraction, or did you get it?
Just a little bit, but
But It's kind of the same principle. You just might have to take your time when you're dealing with the fraction part. You know what I'm saying? But all you're doing is multiplying by the denominator. That's what you've got to remember. I'm going to multiply tomorrow in the exam. If you get 3/4 or 2/3 or whatever the denominator is, that's what you're going to want to multiply all the way through. Because you don't want a fraction or a negative number leading the linear equation when it's in standard form.
So tomorrow on the exams, you will have to multiply them?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Like on my standard tests, when y'all are just writing them down, as long as you get it in standard form, I'm not as picky about the negative number and the fraction. But due to the fact that this is a multiple guess and it's more like standardized testing, it's going to be, they're going to use all of the true math rules, which say don't lead with a negative or a fraction. So
Okay.
that's just something you'll need to remember. And that's going to be, obviously you'll know when you get to 47 and 48 that that's what you're doing.
Oh, so is the exam actually just 50 questions?
Yeah. It's exactly like your review, except different numbers. That's it.
Oh. So basically, if you just did the study guide over and over, you would be prepared and got it right every time?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just what I would do is print out that study guide, or like you say, you're just doing it off the PDF. I would literally not circle it on that paper, and I would just write my answers on a different paper and work it through 2 to 3 times. That's what I would do to make sure you get the right answer. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I know, Ethan, there was a couple parts where you weren't feeling real well in class. And was that the parallel and perpendicular line stuff? How are you doing on that?
I think that was actually. No, I think it was, one thing was number 50.
Number 50.
Yeah.
Okay. Lily, you look at number 50 on yours as well. That'll give us more practice. Because he'll have different numbers than you do. Somebody read me the directions.
Use the first coordinate, write an equation in point-slope form of the line that passes through the given points. Y minus y1 equals m, parentheses, x minus x1.
Okay. So I'm just supposed to write it in point-slope form? That's it?
Yes, and
And the what's the slope?
there isn't one until you do the problem.
Okay. It's
9, -2, and -3, 2.
Okay. Say it to me again, please. I'm sorry.
9, -2, and -3, 2.
So did I write them correctly?
Let's see. Yes.
Okay, so you're supposed to use the first point once you get the slope. So I've got to do the slope first. So I'm going to do 2 minus a -2.
The slope would be 7, I think.
And then -3 minus 9. So that's going to give me 4 over -12, which reduces to 1 -1/3. Is that what you said?
No, I got it wrong in my head. I added it in a weird way.
Oh, okay.
Like I said,
Does that look
I
right
took the
to
9
everybody?
and the 2, and I subtracted.
Yeah, I know the most difficult thing is making sure that you plug your numbers in right. And I will always use the exact form and make sure that I even put my negatives in parentheses on this particular thing, because this is where those simple mistakes can get you into trouble, because if you make a mistake on this first step, it's kind of tough. Okay. So we're supposed to use the first point, which is here, to write it in point slope form. Is that correct?
Yes, I didn't know that you had to use the first point. I thought you could use either or. On the test, is it going to be the first point?
Yeah, because if you look at I think the final instructions say to use the first point, don't it? Doesn't it? Don't it?
Use the first coordinate. Yes, it
Yeah,
does.
use the first coordinate. So that's why you have to do exactly as the instructions tell you. So the first point is this one right here. Now, normally, like on our homework and stuff, you're absolutely right. Most of the time it didn't matter. So there were two possible answers. But on this particular one, the instructions are very specific. And yes, on the final, like I say, the exam is the exact same thing. So the instructions are going to be very specific. So it's going to say in the instructions, so you've got to make sure you're reading them. To use that first point, which is the 9, -2. So I'm going to plug in my -2 into the point slope formula, which is that y minus y1 equals m open parentheses x minus x1. So that's all I'm doing. So if I plug in a -2 into this, I'm going to get a +2 equals, and then I'm going to plug in my slope, 1/3 times x minus 9. So that's how you plug it into point slope form.
Okay.
Hey, Lily. Lily.
Yes, ma'am.
What is your number 50?
Number 50 says to write an equation of the line that passes through the given point and is parallel to the given line.
Oh, yours is the parallel one.
Yeah.
So I must have reversed on those. I must have swapped places. What's 49 say for you?
Using the first coordinates, write an equation in point slope form of the line that passes through the given points.
I must have swapped those two. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, let's do number 49 on yours, Lily. Tell me again what are the two coordinates?
Trying to find them. There you go. For 49, the point slope, that's the one we just did.
Oh, do y'all have the same exact one? You don't have different points?
Didn't we do y plus 2 equals -1/3 x minus 9?
Yes. So we had the same one.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, we had the same one.
Oh, you do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I wonder how that happened. Cool. All right.
Well, I actually need 49 too, the one that's perpendicular and parallel, just to make sure that I know it.
Okay.
My 49.
Okay, yeah. What's 49?
Write an equation of the line that passes through the given point and is A, parallel to the given line, and B, perpendicular to the given line.
Okay. What is the given point?
2, 3. And y equals -2x minus 3.
Wait a minute. Y equals -x?
-2x.
Oh, oops, my bad. Erase. -2x. What?
Plus, minus -3. Or minus 3. Minus 3.
Okay. So what you're going to want to do is there's going to be a line parallel and a line perpendicular. A parallel line has what?
It's parallel with no slope, or is it undefined or no slope?
What? No, parallel means it has the same slope.
Same slope.
Parallel means the lines have the same slope. So Lily, what's the slope in this one?
Y equals -2x minus 3.
Yeah, what's the slope?
Oh, sorry, -2x.
Okay. -2. Okay, cool. All right, so a parallel line to this line will have the same slope, but the y-intercept will be different.
So you could just change the y-intercept to 4 or something?
No, you have to plug in this point right here to find You have to plug this point into not into this. No, hang on just a second. Not into that, but you've got to plug in this point with this slope into the y equals mx plus b format to find the given y-intercept for this line, because that's what will differentiate the equation. So what I'm going to do is take the point 3 equals, and then plug in my slope, -2 times 2 plus b, and then solve for b. Because the b is going to be different for this line. That's the only difference between two parallel lines, is where they intersect the y-axis. So now I will just solve. That's -4 plus b.
So B would be 7.
So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. And that's going to give me 7 equals b. So now what I'll do, now that I have the b, that's the y-intercept. That's where this equation will cross the y-axis. So the actual equation for the line, it's going to have that same slope, which is -2, but my y-intercept will be different. So that is, and that was the one, that's not Lily's, but that's yours, Ethan. That's the parallel line. Okay.
Okay, so on the test, I just plug in whatever coordinate it gives me with the slope and solve for b, and then I get the parallel, and then
that will be the parallel. And then now let's talk. I hope you wrote that down. And then now let's talk about how would you get the perpendicular line? What is the difference?
Don't you just flip the 2, make it 1/2?
Yeah, what else?
Um,
Because it's not just the reciprocal, it's what?
it's the opposite.
Yes, opposite inverse or opposite reciprocal. So if the slope was -2, it's going to be a positive 1/2 this time, right? For the perpendicular line. So for the perpendicular line, I would plug in
so 2 equals
for B.
And then and so you just plug that in, so it's y equals 1/2 x plus 2, and that's the perpendicular line.
Y equals 1/2 x plus 2. That's the perpendicular line.
Okay.
So what you have to realize is that a lot of people are just plugging in, unfortunately, this right here as the intercept, and that's not necessarily it. You have to plug it in and solve. Hey Lily, what's your coordinate for the parallel and perpendicular line?
This should be your number 50.
You mean like the y equals -2?
Yeah, what is it? It should say a particular coordinate and then a particular equation.
Like might have the same one.
2 -3.
2 -3. Oops, that's a pretty 3, Miss Sparks.
Yeah, that's the same coordinate
It's the
that
same
I have.
coordinate? Oh, I guess I did have some of them the same. All right.
Yeah, I think you just swapped 50 and 49.
Oh, okay.
So.
Lily, did that make sense to you? The parallel and perpendicular lines, or should we try to find another example?
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Okay, the parallel and perpendicular lines, the steps you need to go through?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, good.
I'm having trouble with, I think it starts at number 37 on mine. Sketch the graph of each line.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Oh, that's okay. I don't feel, I feel like we did more of that maybe in chapter 3, but I'm not really sure. So, I might even have some blank graphs. So let me see if I do. Okay. What is the equation that you're asked to graph, Lily?
On number 37.
Okay, what's the equation?
Y equals negative 6/5 x plus 3.
Did I write it right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do is graph my y-intercept. So I would go 1, 2, 3. Can you see my dot at all? Can you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So then what I'm going to do from there, I'm going to use my slope to get my next point. Okay?
Uh-huh.
And so my rise, I've got to, because it's negative, I have to travel in one negative direction and one positive directions. Mm-hmm. So if I go down 6, which is what I'm going to do, that's my negative direction because down is negative. Then I'll have to travel right 5. So I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's my other point right there. Right there.
Oh, you go down from the y-intercept?
I'm sorry?
You go down from the y-intercept?
Yes, sir.
I forgot about that.
You travel away from the y-intercept. The y-intercept is your first point, and then you use your slope to find your second.
I guess that's why my slope was so messed up on that test.
Maybe. So there's my line. And one of the graphs should look a little like that, does it?
Yes, it does.
Okay. I'm trying to, what was it, 37?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see if I can find it.
My 37 is y equals 1/2 x plus 1.
Okay. I'll do that one next then. That's 39. I was trying to find it to see but Lily, you do see a graph that looks like that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. And yours was, repeat yours again, Ethan?
Y equals 1/2 x plus 1.
Okay, so what I would do on this one is once again start with my y-intercept, which is 1 in this case. And then I'll use my slope, which is a positive 1/2. So both of the directions that I have to travel are positive. So I would go up 1, right 2. But if I was going to use a negative, I would go down 1, left 2, because both directions have to be either negative or both directions have to be positive because my slope is positive. And 2 negatives make a positive and 2 positives make a positive. So that's what that one would look like. So the first thing you want to remember is graph your y-intercept. So like on a multiple guess test, you can sometimes eliminate answers because the graphs won't be going through the correct y-intercept. So that's a good way to get it narrowed down first. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
To both of you?
Yeah.
All right, let me go. What was it, 37 for you? All right, so look, and sometimes some of the difficult things, like you can see that the increments that I used when I was sketching the graph, I went by ones. On this particular one that's in front of you now, the increments go by twos. So you've got to bear that in mind. But if you look at the graphs, A goes through 1.
But it's in the wrong direction.
But it's in the wrong direction. B, you could go ahead and eliminate because it doesn't go through 1. C doesn't go through 1 either. It goes through 2. But D goes through 1 and it's going in the right direction. Does that make sense?
Yes,
to
ma'am.
both of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You for all your help. I have to go.
Oh, you do?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Did you have other questions though, sweetheart?
No, ma'am.
You didn't?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Oh, hey, Campbell. And it looked like Alec joined us and then left.
It was Campbell's birthday.
Okay. And so for number 38, if you're looking at it to graph it, it would have to go through 3. There's only 2 that go through 3. And that would be A.
Positive direction.
Right. That would be A and C. And only one of them goes in a positive direction. And which one is that again, Ethan? I'm sorry?
A.
A. So there you go. And your slope is a positive. So you know that that's your answer. So that the y-intercept can definitely help you narrow down your choices. Okay?
Okay.
Does that help you with those?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I feel like on number 39 and 40.
Yeah, that was what I was just about to ask.
Okay. You would need to change those to slope intercept form.
Mm-hmm.
So that you could find your y-intercept.
So wouldn't you just subtract the 7x and then divide by the -1?
Yep. That's exactly what you would do. Do you want to see me do that?
The only question I have other than that is, like, would you put the x in front of the 4? Or
yes, you would. Because you want it to be in slope intercept form. You definitely would.
Would that change anything though?
I'm sorry?
Would that change anything if you put like -7 negative y equals -7x plus 4, and then you divide and that would be y equals 7x plus -4? Would that be the right answer?
That would be the right answer to graph in, because if you didn't do that, your y-intercept may not, you have to make sure you have the right signs, and you can tell that adjustment, you have to adjust the signs for that. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
So you got, if after you do, you got negative y equals -7x plus 4. And when you multiply everything by -1, you get y equals 7x minus 4. So your y-intercept is a -4. How many of these graphs does actually go through the -4?
2.
2. So you eliminate 2 answers immediately by just checking for that y-intercept. All right. And is our slope negative or positive?
Positive, so it has to be C.
That's right. Does that help you
Yes, ma'am.
with those? Hey, Campbell. Is she still here?
Yeah,
Or
she's
did she
still in
leave?
the chat, but like still in the hangout, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Oh,
Do you want me to do you want to see number 40 done?
no, thank you. I think I get it now. So
Okay, because I was on this particular one, you've got to divide everything. Once you get that X over there, you got to divide everything by 5.
5, yeah,
Okay.
and that would make -1/5 as the slope, and then
Correct.
4 as the y-intercept.
Yep. That's it. Good job.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Do you have any other questions?
No, ma'am.
Because I'm doing a 2-hour math lab today. So
Well, I'm gonna look through it again and just see if there's anything else. Then.
okay. Because I'm like, oh, Campbell's texting me. Yes, my 3s are beautiful, aren't they? I write so well on this, don't you think, Ethan? I write
Well, it's
almost
better
as
than most people that I've seen write on these things.
I was gonna say I write almost as well on these as I do on my on the whiteboard. I am not good on the whiteboard at all. At all. All right. If you don't have any other questions, or you just look over it again, look over it. You can either do it now, or I'll be on here till almost 11:30. And then I'm going to Algebra 2.
Okay. Well, I think that's all I have for now. So.
Okay,
Thank you.
well, I'll be here till 11:30 if you need to jump back on.
Okay.
Oh, Campbell, you got to go too? Bye, Campbell. Bye, Ethan. But I'll be here. I'll keep the link open until 11:30 if you need me again.
Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Nana got me a 3-month subscription.
That was so nice.